everybody. This is Dr. Alcico for our weekly Sunday physician interview series. I'm so happy and grateful to have Dr. Alejandro Badia calling in from Miami, Florida. Hi, Alejandro.
Hi, good morning. How are you, Elsie?
Good, good. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
He has written a phenomenal book, and I'm so grateful that he's done this. This is really going to help healthcare change by starting the conversation. How can we get our physicians involved? How can we get healthcare to change in a way away from where it's going right now? So let me just introduce Dr. Alejandro, and I'm going to show you the book in more detail, and we're going to discuss it. He's a hand and upper extremity orthopedic surgeon and he has his own center in Miami, Florida. He also was previously a chief of hand surgery at the Baptist Hospital, Miami. He runs an active international hand fellowship. He's co-founded a world-renowned Miami Anatomical Research Center, the world's largest surgical cadaveric training lab. He also has completed the Badia Hand to Shoulder Center, a fully integrated clinical facility for the upper limb. And he also inaugurated OrthoNOW, which is an urgent care center specialized in the treatment of any orthopedic injury that occurs in the upper limbs. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alejandro, is that all encompassing?
Yes, it is. Not only that, about 70% is for pain, so it's not even all injury. It's just
Got
for
it.
access. Yeah.
That's amazing. So he's written this phenomenal book. First of all, I want to thank you for writing such an amazing, interesting book. It must have taken you a long time. Someone of your stature at this point in your career, and we've discussed this before, this is not something that, you know, a very successful physician who could retire today needed to write and spend time doing, but you did. So tell us why you wrote this book.
I think it was to give a voice to the people in the trenches who realize what the hurdles and obstacles are that are really driving up healthcare costs. It's not everything that you hear about in the popular media. They are daily issues and obstacles that we face. And I really wrote it out of frustration. I felt like somebody had to say what was going on. And I was kind of surprised to find that there was not more of that out there. There are fantastic healthcare books that I've read and I digested as background for the book, but it didn't seem like there was a voice from those of us in the trenches, including patients. So there are some patient anecdotes in there, in their own words, that embodied what we go through.
I could hear and feel your frustration in this book. You basically go through, and this is great for the public to know, what the physicians go through from the beginning to the end, from the time you start training and to time you come out and when you want to start a practice. And then you talk about how you're trying to develop an integrated program that really was going to streamline some of the orthopedic care that you're doing. But you came along some of frustrations that I read, and I was surprised, but not really surprised, but it made me frustrated feeling it. Can you talk a little bit about that and how physicians, as physicians, in order for change to happen, that we need to let down our guards and be a little bit more in collaboration?
Well, certainly what I realized many years ago is that almost every patient who came to see me as a hand surgeon, I'm kind of the end of the food chain per se, but why is it that a patient couldn't come to me as, say, the second clinician, but I'm often the fourth or fifth doctor? And that's because the system forces the patients into that. And the fact that we come up with this innovative healthcare delivery model and that we couldn't get people to embrace it or adopt it or any traction with it, show that there's a basic problem with the system. And that's only in my area, right? I could imagine how many other clinicians have tried to do something that just makes more sense and yet run up against hurdles. And, you know, part of the hurdles is honestly ourselves. I quote a podiatrist in the book who, in the recovery room, we were talking about something, and he goes, my mentor said that we eat our own. And it's very telling is that physicians oftentimes will prefer to back a business person or follow their lead rather than a colleague who comes up with something that makes sense. And I continue to experience that, and it's really unfortunate. And it's not just here. I recall a colleague of mine in Adelaide, Australia, sets up this incredible meeting, and he says he can't get the local surgeons to even attend, and they're friends of his. So it's not that there's animosity. There's something, an undercurrent, and it's hurting us. And I think we have to realize it, and we have to come together, and we have to support each other. So when a physician I know comes up with some innovation, I want to know about it. I go to the website, I read about it, and I ask them, how can I help? Because that's the only way we're going to come out of this.
Right. It doesn't have to be, we're very competitive. And I think training made us that way. So I think we need to start from our medical school and residency and say, hey, we need to change the system, because we're coming out as being what used to work in the past as very individualistic thinking instead of a collaborative way. And it's not zero-sum game. I mean, how many people in the same area, same region, they don't want to share anything with you. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know their tricks, right? And because they want to be the ones who get all the patients when really there's really plenty of patients to go around. So
an orthopedic industry guy once said to me, and I thought this was very, very, very smart. He said, all ships rise in a tide. And I remember he did a workshop where we were doing a joint replacement. It was specifically a wrist replacement. And he had the competing companies also do the workshop, because what he realized is there's so few wrist replacements done. Very few physicians know they're even available. It's not the same as, say, knee replacement, right? Which the components are highly competitive, but there's only a few companies that make the wrist. Why not elevate all of them? Because there are so many patients that would benefit. So we have to take that approach, is that how you help a colleague may also help you as well. And in the end, we have to kind of not be selfish. We have to realize that healthcare is a calling. Most of us, the grand majority of us, went into it for all the right reasons. So let's coalesce to be able to achieve that for our patients. And in the end, we'll benefit. There's no greater satisfaction, right, than when we treat a patient successfully and they get to the right doctor at the right time. And that's what I'm trying to achieve.
I love that. I totally agree. And I was sharing with my group here and sharing with you earlier that I went to the American College of Healthcare Executives meeting, and one of the physician leadership, it's made for all healthcare executives, and a lot of them are non-physicians, but they did have a physician leadership meeting. And one guy got up on the front of stage, there are hundreds of people in the audience, saying that we really do want to have physician leadership. We do want to have physicians engaged in what we're talking about on the top. But the problem is we cannot find a good physician leader. And what he meant was, and I was offended at the time because I didn't understand, but what he meant was somebody who's willing to let down their guard and bring their ego down and have the humility to say, okay, I don't know, but let me learn, and let's discuss this. Let me give you my point of view, and let me listen to what you're saying. Be very collaborative in an environment that we're not used to being in, and we're not always the experts. So part of my goal of being the CEO and founder of Lead Physician is to create this leadership course that's easy for people to learn these skills that we didn't learn before, because I was that person. I went through it. And because of my transformation, things have changed so much. We all need to come together. You're absolutely right. We're never going to change healthcare unless we have a physician's voice in the way things are going.
Yes, and to do that, you also have to maybe curtail a little bit your clinical activities. I think that's another problem, is that we love what we do, and it's so easy to get caught up in this grind. Is so much more difficult. We all go home and catch up with charting now because of EMR, and it's become so onerous that it really takes some grit to say, okay, I'm gonna turn this down a notch so that I can make time besides family and hobbies and things. You have to take care of yourself and those around you, but you also have to step back a little bit from practice in order to make time for these kind of events. You need to show up to a local medical society meeting, or reach out to, I've gone to, for example, a lot of chamber of commerce meetings. I'd be the only physician. I'd actually be in scrubs. It was my it was my Tuesday morning, which is my surgery day. And I didn't want to take the time of taking my, a suit and coat off. So I just went in scrubs. And as soon as the keynote speaker was, I would duck out. But I was there in the morning when it was a networking, having a cup of coffee, talking to business leaders, because we don't do enough of that. And to do that, you have to sacrifice. That means I got home later that night for my elective surgery schedule, but that's okay. That's what it took. And if many of us did that, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. That's the reality.
That's so true. And you know what? We need to be able to say it should be a requirement for all of us as part of our medical education, also from residency. But, in practice, we need to say, I need to learn about it instead of, I don't do that. I didn't sign up for that. The other thing that I noticed in this book that's really amazing is you recruited a lot of experts who gave their opinion as solutions in the back of the last chapter, solutions to what we need to do and how do we start the conversation? Do we look at other countries? Let me just say really quickly some of the things that people said in general. One person, maybe it was you, who wrote about the German healthcare system.
Yes, that was based upon T.R. Reid's book, which I highly suggest.
Yes.
And it's called The Healing of America. So ironically, he had an arthritic shoulder. So that's my area of expertise. I do a lot of shoulder work. And he went to 9 different countries and really got some varying opinions about not only how to treat it clinically, but then how to get there and how it's paid for. So it's a terrific read. And I like the German system because it allowed for private healthcare, but the key is that they are non-for-profit. And I think that that health insurance companies should not be answering to Wall Street. They should be answering the patients. And if they're successful, God bless you. I'm a capitalist. The CEO should make more money. I have no problem with that. I have a problem though that we're worried about profits going towards silent investors on Wall Street. That's a big problem.
Yeah. I have a problem also with the fact that they're saying doctors make too much money when we're really only 10% of the entire pie of $3.3 trillion of healthcare spending. Then you also had people talk about ACOs and value-based care, how that fits into our system, and talking about profit margins for administrative burden that has skyrocketed compared to physician salaries. These are all conversations that we need to have on the table with physician leadership. Too much money in administration, overuse and defensive medicine, and the need for specialized medicine to help really streamline the care. Prevention and wellness. We don't talk about that enough, and making sure that we're covered for that in our healthcare insurance. Pooling money for healthcare and having healthcare savings accounts for patients, embracing technology to help improve. I love all this. This is amazing. Don't cover everything. Dr. Mark Recant, the orthopedic surgeon, he says, why do we have to cover everything? And why can't we share the savings with the patient so there's some incentive to save instead of going to the ER at 4 a.m. just for a common cold, but just because it's already paid for. So, and the whole pharmaceutical company and the shortage of medicine that the public, they don't know about, and why that happens. And the basic medications that we need, we're always struggling for, like lidocaine in the hospitals.
Yeah, I learned a lot myself. That part was written by Julio Gonzalez, who wrote the foreword to my book. The foreword, the book is only 2 pages, but I have to admit, it kind of brought a tear to my eye, the way it's written. I think if anybody read it, they would understand. And he brought that fact about the shortage of medications, and he wrote a book. If I can show.
Yeah.
Well, he's written a couple great books.
Yeah, you said 4 books.
Yes. His book is called
The Case for Free Market Healthcare.
Yeah, well, he's written several. This is the first one of his I read. Healthcare Reform: The Truth. It's pretty direct title, but this one is a fantastic book. The Case for Free Market Healthcare. I'm particularly proud because not only is he also a fellow orthopedic surgeon, but he's also Cuban American and really a staunchly proud American. He served in the Florida Congress, ran for U.S. Congress and lost to the incumbent who's a trial lawyer. So that tells you something about our system. And he also served in the military, and he is an attorney as well. So yeah, so there are people out there who care, but it's not like these books or even my book are gonna get 1 million readers. If that happened, I kind of liken it to what happened with, there's a few bad cops, right? Like in every profession, and all of a sudden, because of some bad actions by some police officers, we have this huge movement, for racial injustice. And I'm thinking, well, why aren't people caring enough about healthcare? I mean, not only does it affect all of us, and it's perhaps the most vital thing that we have is and that, especially during COVID, people recognize now the importance, right? All this heroes without capes sort of comments, right? And yet people aren't shouting this from the mountains. It's 20% of our GDP, twice as expensive as Norway, which is number 2 on. And I'm thinking, why are people caring more? So I don't know what
there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that we're not transparent. There's a lot of grumbling and there's no leadership. I agree. And I think as physicians, we need to be at the forefront of this. Your comment there about the police made me also think about how there were some bad apple physicians who created this bureaucracy because of the the Stark laws, for instance, the self-referral system, and people who are really abusing the system made all physicians look bad, when really most of us are really altruistic and really want to help the patients, really want to do good. And why shouldn't physicians benefit financially? Now there's this whole stigma about physicians being able to own hospitals, being able to, and really, back in the day, there was really streamlined care because of that. Yeah. Because of a few bad apples, things went sour. And now
it's as if there's these rules designed to hold us back, and it doesn't make sense because I think we've already been screened, right? We went through long education and residency training, and why can't we have some oversight rather than these hurdles and these approvals every step of the way?
Right. I love that. I loved what you said in the book. You said spot checks.
Yeah. Like
why
TSA,
can't we have spot checks to make sure, it's like audits, making sure people are practicing the way they should be practicing, and help us maintain some continuity of care and really streamline care, reducing costs, improving quality, all of that. That's why physicians are so burnt out. They're overworked. They're putting their hands up in the air. They're leaving medicine because they're sick and tired of the bureaucracy. But instead of putting our hands up, let's put our hands together and make this work. So what should we do from here? What do you think is the next step, Dr. Badia? And can people reach out to you? Because, you have a wealth of knowledge. You have connections to, you're a great speaker. You've spoken on 7 continents, on the 7 continents, and which I was surprised to hear. What should we do next, you think, in your mind?
Well, I think we have to create relationships with our legislators, and now is an ideal time. We're in a very tumultuous period of American politics, which is sad, but no matter what, somebody's going to come out on top, and no matter who that is, whether it's not in line with your own political views, we have to reach out, and we have to tell them that physicians are interested. We have to be the patient advocate. And we have to tell them that we actually can drive down costs. We are not the reason for the high costs, and educate patients about that. Patients are surprised when you tell them that a cardiothoracic surgeon makes maybe $2,000 from Medicare for opening somebody's chest and doing a coronary bypass, because they don't know, and they have to understand where the costs are coming from. You mentioned the medication costs. People don't know what PBMs are, right? Pharmacy benefit managers. They don't know what these multi-billion-dollar companies are. So we have to talk about it And it's very easy nowadays with social media. It doesn't cost anything. So, okay, we can post pictures of cute puppies or comment on Kim Kardashian, right? But that doesn't really matter in our society. Let's be honest. And we have to post things that our patients are going to be seeing and tell the truth and make concrete suggestions. One thing I did, and we don't have the engagement I would love to see, is I started a Facebook group for the book, Healthcare from the Trenches. The other night we had really a very heated debate about if either candidate was going to actually present something concrete about healthcare reform. So there were a lot of opinions. I'd like to see more of that. So we need to debate this, and then we need to take action.
Right, and we need to come with it with the right attitude. It's not a zero-sum game, and it's not me against you. We're really here together, but we're debating for the same common cause.
Exactly. Yeah. Debate is healthy, and at the end, there's been many an opinion of mine that's been changed when somebody presents some facts, and I said, yeah, okay, I see that now. Let me try to work that into my own framework.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, the last point I want to make is, you mentioned to me when we talked about starting education early when in medical school and residency, that of a center called NOVA. Can you talk a little bit about that and what they're doing to help medical students understand leadership and entrepreneurship? Sure.
My understanding is a lot of medical schools now are having sort of entrepreneur clubs or business clubs because they realize that they need to be aware of this. So NOVA Southeastern University is in Broward, the neighboring county to Miami-Dade County, and they reached out to me with a club called the Entrepreneur in Healthcare, EIH, Entrepreneurs in Healthcare Club, at their medical school, and they are learning about how I run my private practice and going and visiting other physicians and understanding what our challenges are. And doing it at that level will be so powerful that when they go into their residency, they've already got an understanding. And maybe they won't go out and be hired by a big hospital system. Maybe they will, set up a shingle, whether by themselves or with some colleagues, but you have to be armed with this information.
Yes.
But even that is a challenge. I think in the coming weeks, there's a Innovations in Healthcare Summit with the University of Miami. And I had reached out to the director of this. We spoke on the phone and nothing's changed. And I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm adding something to healthcare here in Miami in my own humble way. And yet I can't even have a platform at this. So there are universities and academic systems that even they are a little bit resistant to people in the trenches or in the community who are bringing positive change. So we have to just go beyond, titles and strict academia and understand that this is good for everybody.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll have to follow up with you at some point. Thank you so much for having this interview with me, Dr. Badia, Alejandro. Again, get this book and let's start having the conversation. Can people reach out to you if they want to through social media?
Yeah, my website is simple. It's drbadia.com, drbadia.com, and the book has its own website with the long name. So I changed. You can get to it by just drbadiabook.com, and of course you can reach it on Amazon. What I suggest for people listening is take a moment and go to the book Healthcare from the Trenches on Amazon. Just read the reviews, because when you read the reviews, you'll get a good sense of what both patient readers who are patients, lay people, and the clinician readers, what both of them say about the book. And I think that'll give you a better understanding of what it's all about.
Great. Thank you so much for this time. And thank you everyone for watching. Again, I'm Dr. Elsie Coe. If you have a topic that needs to be discussed, I would love to hear from you. Please reach out to me at info@drelsiecoe.com. And I hope to see you again every Sunday around this time on my closed Facebook group. Thank you. Take care.